The work for this week is Essay 2, and so we have some very important deadlines to get clear on here. Deadline Monday, deadline Wednesday, deadline Friday. Here we go. For Monday, you need a 750-word draft of Essay 2. Let's go back and remind ourselves of what Essay 2 says. Minimum word count for the final essay is 1,000 words, which is, I believe, a bit over 3 pages, in Times New Roman 12-point double-spaced with 1-inch margins. The mode for this particular essay is close reading, literary analysis. This essay must be your own original work. This essay must be a piece of literary criticism. Specifically, you will write an argument that relies upon your interpretation of the poem's structures, themes, and speaker. The poem is your only evidence. So, reminder again, in a literature class, it's supposed to be just you and the work, primary research, not any use of any external sources. Here we go. Have an introduction that names the poem, the poet, the speaker. Remember that the speaker and the poet are not the same person, that the speaker is an invention of the poets, and your interpretation of the situation and the cultural setting, and ends in a thesis. For a paper of this length, you're going to need approximately 4 to 6 body paragraphs, depending a little bit on how you write and what you have to put in those body paragraphs. Each of those body paragraphs really does need to begin with a transition, moving from the idea in the previous paragraph to the idea in the next one. These body paragraphs should open with a topic sentence, which is the subclaim that you are making for the body paragraph. We're asking that you include at least 3 very short quotations from the poem. Very short, not 4 lines, please, please, please. Very short. Only needed to sort of hone in on your analysis there. They need to be in MLA style, signal phrase, always, quotation marks around the borrowed passage, parentheses with the author's last name, the page number where the passage was borrowed from. Okay. Conclusion that reminds readers of the thesis without repeating it and then emphasizes the importance of the lesson learned. The topic of Essay 2 again. The class has read The Fish, Sestino, One Art and Sonnet by Elizabeth Bishop, as well as Robert Browning's My Last Duchess and Carolyn Forché's The Colonel. And the class has also been reading about structure in poems. So essentially, what is this assignment? You have seen, I think especially with Shakespeare, the way that regular meter sort of lulls the reader. It's pleasing, it's pleasant, kind of like a lyric, kind of like a song. We get accustomed to that little pattern, that little pace. We get in the groove. Most readers who enjoy traditional poetry like that musical quality. Generally speaking, these patterns give readers pleasure. Okay, your Essay 2 is to give great attention to the theme of the poem and to show a heightened sense of that emotion because of the structuring device that the poet used. Okay, so, and we wanted to focus for these poems, we wanted to focus on unpleasant emotions. So you're going to need to have a thesis in this draft, and the thesis is the claim that you are making about the poem, and the claim should have to do with some unpleasant emotion evoked by, you know, the poem's theme, the poem's situation, what is going on. And that thesis should also hint at how some structuring element heightens this emotion, probably because of the places where the structure, right? We talked about how enjambment makes you rush, remember that? And how caesuras make you pause a little bit unnaturally. It's an interruption of that da-dum, 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 da-dum kind of pattern. And that can be used to heighten an unpleasant emotion because it works on you a little bit. It's a little feeling of surprise. Your Essay 2 is to give great attention to the theme of the poem and to show a heightened sense of that unpleasant emotion because of the structuring device the poet uses. So that should be in your thesis statement. The introduction should provide a little bit of relevant background that orients your reader towards the thesis. Write to a general audience of educated readers who are interested in your idea. You have a sympathetic audience interested in what you have to say. You have an audience who is already familiar with these poets. But you should not be directing your work just to class members. Remember that when you're writing in an academic setting or in a professional setting, your audience is global and your audience is educated. So you don't want to give short shrift to titles of things and names of things and details. Write for a broader audience. Okay, I think we've covered this. So that was a little reminder of what Essay 2 is. What your job should be for your draft. 750 words in length, so this is due on Monday. And 750 words, what is that? 3 pages? 3 pages should be, no, 3 pages is 900 words, so 750 is just like 2.5 pages. Anyway, best to have, some kind of a bit of an introduction that gets people going. Make sure that your thesis statement is there. Have your body paragraphs in place. They can be a little bit messy, but try and have all the body paragraphs there. If your conclusion isn't quite there yet, that's okay. The conclusion is a sort of a thing that can come, last as you conclude. Please include in your draft, yes, strong thesis, topic sentences that support the thesis, so make sure that these are arguments. Literary analysis is always an argument paper. You are making points that can be debated, right? We're not dealing with right and wrong answers, and we're not just filling out reports. We need critical thinking, and we need argumentation. Several organized body paragraphs with topic sentences, discussion of the poem's themes, discussion of the speaker of the poem, discussion of the poem's structure. Okay, so these are required elements. Okay. What did you learn from your peer? Okay, so what you're going to do is read each of your group members' drafts and write answers to the questions below. Actually, you don't need to answer number 8, but 1 through 7, please. Number 1 says, what did you learn from your peer, right? From reading your partner's paper. What did you learn? What insights had you not thought of yourself? And or what inferences of your partner's surprises or interests you? So that's going to be your answer. You're going to answer that for number 1. Just, wow, what did we find out? Number 2 is about the thesis. Specifically, the thesis and the topic sentences need to fill out an argument logically and clearly. So for number 2, what is the thesis? And copy and paste that so that you can focus on it, and so that I can too when I'm reading your peer review. Number 3 is topic sentences. Each body paragraph should have one, so copy and paste for number 3, copy and paste the topic sentences in order for number 3. Number 4 says review the thesis and the topic sentences. So look over these sentences in the order in which you've got them copied. Do these sentences in this order look like a good argument structure? Do the topic sentences appear to support the thesis? Okay, so is each of these sentences a debatable claim? And I'm really not expecting at this stage of the game to see yes, 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 or no, 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 or yes, no, no, no. I'm expecting to see actual sentences that explain your answers. And also, before you answer these questions, do review the paragraphs in the drafts again. Make sure that you copied the right sentences. You may feel an impulse to grab sentences because they're in a location where you expect a topic sentence, but maybe your partner didn't put it in that location. So check. I've read very many student essays where the topic sentence is not actually the first sentence in the body paragraph. Sometimes they've stuck it somewhere else, and sometimes they just don't even move it for you. So find out what is the topic sentence, not just what's the first sentence in the paragraph. Analyze the paragraph in order to draw that conclusion. Number 4 says review the thesis and the topic sentences. Okay, so that's what you're answering there. You're focusing on the argument. Number 5 says, given your work for questions 2 to 4, make a suggestion about the argument. Okay, so 4 and 5, you're focusing on the argument by looking at what the thesis is and what the topic sentences are, because those are the claims, right? Number 6, organization. Are the paragraphs in good order? Sometimes when we draft, we realize after we read our draft a couple of times that possibly our 5th paragraph should really have been our 2nd paragraph. Have you had that happen? Sometimes it does. So just have a check. Do the paragraphs seem to be in an order that they go in, or do you think maybe the draft would work better if one of the paragraphs or more were moved to a different location? Next, do successive sentences in each paragraph move easily from one to the next, and do they develop an idea? Would you move or cut any of these sentences? Do you see any gaps that need filling in, any unanswered questions, anything that's not quite explained, anything that's in need of an example? Explain that here, that gap, or that problem, or missing transition. But here we go. Does each body paragraph begin with a transition word? That is a place where transition words are, I think, 99.9% of the time needed. A however, a similarly, in addition, moreover, furthermore, hence. Those kinds of words hold essays together pretty well. Your reader needs a turn signal to be lit so that they know that you're turning left. And transition words do that for us. They make good guides. Are there enough transition words within the body paragraphs as you follow from one sentence to the next? Do they always make sense, or do you feel like you're jumping around a bit? Comment on that. Make a suggestion. Number 7 is clarity and tone. The most important element of standard academic English is clarity. Actually, for any kind of writing whatsoever, clarity is the very most important thing. Readers have to be able to understand what they are reading. The second most important element is the economy of words. When instructors tell you that they want a 300-word essay, or they want a 2,000-word essay, they're not doing it because they just want that many words on the piece of paper. They are doing that because they know enough about professional writing to know how much space it takes to explain something well. And so if you're assigned to write something in 1,000 words, and let's say you draft it out and you only get 450 words, and then you decide to repeat what you've said 2 or 3 times, you're not doing the assignment. You haven't expanded the idea beyond the 450 words. What you might try doing to get the economy of words out there, to make sure that everything that you say counts, you might read your draft and ask yourself after the end of each paragraph, why is this true? What is an example of this? Is there some piece of evidence that suggests that I'm wrong? Do a little journaling on those questions and then see what you can do with those paragraphs, because maybe you can actually double the length of those paragraphs, and maybe you really, really should, because you haven't said enough to explain your point. Okay? Economy of words doesn't mean that everything has to be short. Economy of words means that every single word in your draft is doing some kind of work. Now, in drafts, maybe the writing is not so very economical. Like we've said, drafts are messy. But that final work, all the words should be doing work. There should be good development without unnecessary repetition or empty verbiage. So please comment on what is clear in your partner's draft and what is not clear. Also, please comment on what is developed well, and comment on what should be cut because it doesn't say anything, if that happens to be the case. Anyway, so again, drafts due by Monday. Responses to everybody in your group due by Wednesday. And essay 2 is due on Friday. I hope you have some fun.